stage the Sebastian River High School Symphonic Winds. Our first selection tonight is Claire Grunman's American Folk Rhapsody No. 3. He wrote 4 of these American Folk Rhapsodies, which is just arrangements of various American folk songs. And he's probably most known for these 4 arrangements. This arrangement includes settings of the folk songs Colorado Trail, Get Along Little Doggies, Careless Love, and Turkey in the Straw.
So following that, the next piece on our program is a piece entitled Novo Lineo by Samuel Hazo. Novo Lineo is actually Latin for a new and better change. This piece is written in 3 continuous movements, so it's not like the last piece where we paused in between each movement. It'll just keep on going through. The piece is written for the construction, or the demolishing and construction of a new school, the Upper St. Clair's High School, which is actually Hazo's alma mater. The first movement is going to start very slow and somber, and it's supposed to represent the memories shared in that old high school, walking down the halls and hearing the old teachers and students. Each movement is going to utilize the school's alma mater, and it's going to be transitioned and played with throughout the piece and used in different ways. Second movement is a little bit faster, a little bit louder, and that's supposed to represent the demolishing and construction of the new school. So you'll hear some pretty loud and exciting percussion as well as some clapping in the trumpets. The following movement, the last movement, is supposed to represent the glory and beauty of the new school. It represents hope and optimism for the future. So you'll hear the themes from the very first movement come back in a new and exciting way. So please enjoy Sam Hazo's Novo Lineo.
Our next piece is a piece entitled Melodious Spunk by David Biedenbender. Mr. Biedenbender is fairly new to the band composing scene, but he's quickly gaining in popularity. He's born in 1984 in Wisconsin, received doctoral and master's degrees in composition from the University of Michigan, and he's going to be soon joining the Michigan State University composition faculty. So he's a very accomplished composer. This piece that we're about to perform is inspired by the famous jazz pianist Thelonious Monk. His wife nicknamed him Melodious Thunk because of his style of his jazz piano playing, which was known as very percussive, not very melodic in nature, but more harsh, sudden sounds. So that was the inspiration for this piece. Mr. Biedenbender took that idea and used Mr. Monk's style to create this piece. He didn't quote from him necessarily any of his music. He did use a Dizzy Gillespie piece called Salt Peanuts that you'll hear bits and pieces of with the saxes and clarinets. But it's a different kind of band piece, but it's one that our students, I think, have really enjoyed working on. It's a fun piece. It's got a nice groove and some nice melodic lines. So we hope you enjoy Melodious Thunk.
So before we go into our final piece in the program for this portion of the concert, I'd like to take this opportunity to give my thanks to this awesome community school administration, students, teachers. I've been extremely fortunate and lucky to be with such a wonderful program. My very first day here, Mr. Goldstein took me to the front office, and I never felt more welcome than I did when I went there for the very first time. So thank you to the administration. Thank you to Mr. Goldstein and Mr. Jones. They continue to help me. We had many times where he sat me down in his office and he was like, maybe that didn't work so well. Why don't you try this? And it helped me because of it, and I'm extremely thankful and continuing to grow and become a better teacher because of them. Most importantly, I want to say thank you to the students of Sebastian River High School. You guys have continually challenged and pushed me to become a better teacher. I could not feel more ready than now to get out there and take over a program of my own. Hopefully one day leading up to being a program like this one, but we'll see. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again. I've really enjoyed my time here, and I'm very optimistic about the future, so thank you. Okay, now enough about me, on to the more important stuff, which is the music. Our next piece is completely different than what you just heard with the beat and bender. Who in here is familiar with The Sound of Music? Okay, so our next piece on the program is The Sound of Music, which is the original musical by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. It's the story of Maria, who is debating whether she wants to become a nun, so she's working as a housemaid, eventually falling in love with the children and the widowed father, and falling in love with them and telling the tale of that. So actually, last year was the 50th anniversary of the original film that came out featuring Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. I'm sure you guys are all familiar. So we thought there's no better way than to celebrate with some really famous tunes from that. So this one will feature my favorite things, Do, Re, Mi, The Sound of Music, and Climb Every Mountain. I hope you enjoy The Sound of Music.